Drop everything now. Archangel Michael declares this day was marked for your miracle. Do not pass it by. Drop everything now, my child, my beloved. Not because fear is chasing you, but because destiny has caught up to you. What is happening in this moment is not random, not accidental, not something you stumbled into while passing time. This message arrived because your spirit was marked to recognize it. Even before the words began, something inside you leaned forward, a quiet alertness, a subtle knowing. That was not imagination, that was alignment calling your attention. You did not come here by chance. You were drawn. There has been a disturbance in your inner rhythm lately. Nothing dramatic enough to explain to others, but deep enough that you felt it alone. A sense that something is slightly off, that life looks functional on the surface, yet underneath, something feels unfinished. You've gone through your days asking yourself why motivation feels heavier, why clarity comes and goes, why joy sometimes feels delayed rather than absent. These feelings are not weakness. They are indicators. Today carries a specific weight, not pressure, purpose. This is a day that was circled long before you noticed it. A day chosen not to overwhelm you, but to realign you. And that is why there is urgency without panic, insistence without threat. You may feel a pull to rush past this moment, to tell yourself you'll come back later when your mind is quieter or your schedule lighter. But that urge is not coming from wisdom. It's coming from distraction trying to protect itself. Listen closely. This interruption is gentle because you are ready to receive it gently. Your spirit has been sensing time differently. You may feel as though days blur together, or certain moments stretch longer than expected. You may feel caught between patience and anticipation, between surrender and restlessness. That tension is not accidental. It's the sound of something preparing to move after a long pause. When movement resumes, awareness must come first. You were personally selected to hear this not because you are perfect, but because you are perceptive. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are capable of stillness when it matters. Many would ignore the quiet nudge that brought you here. Many would dismiss the subtle urgency rising in their chest, but you didn't. And that tells me your spirit remembers more than your mind does. There is no demand being placed on you right now, only an invitation to remain present. You don't need to understand what is unfolding yet. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to search your past for errors or replay every decision you've ever made. Awareness comes before explanation. Presence comes before clarity. Something has been gently misaligned, not broken, not ruined, just slightly off course. And when alignment shifts, even by a small degree, the distance between where you are and where you're meant to be can feel longer than it should. That's why this moment matters, not to correct you harshly, but to adjust you lovingly. Stay with this message. Let it settle without rushing it. Allow your breath to slow. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your spirit to recognize that it is safe to pause here. Because what comes next will not shout. It will unfold quietly, and only those who stayed present will hear it clearly. And just beyond this interruption, something long unspoken is preparing to surface. My beloved, there was a moment, soft, almost invisible, when something shifted beneath the surface of your life. It did not announce itself with chaos or noise. It didn't arrive as a clear mistake or an obvious turning point. It came quietly, disguised as survival, compromise, or patience, and because it felt necessary at the time, you did not question it. You adapted, you adjusted, you moved forward with what you had. That moment matters now, not to blame you but to free you. You may not remember the exact instant, but you remember the feeling. The sense that you were choosing between two incomplete options. The weight of holding back words you wanted to speak. The decision to stay silent to keep peace, or to say yes when your spirit whispered maybe. That subtle override of your inner voice wasn't rebellion, it was exhaustion meeting pressure. And it's important you hear this clearly. You were not failing, you were coping. This is why confusion followed. Not loud confusion but a quiet fog, a sense that direction became harder to trust. You tried to move forward, yet something felt delayed. You did the responsible things. You showed up. You kept going. Still, an invisible weight settled in your chest, and you couldn't explain it without sounding ungrateful. You wondered why motivation drained faster than before, why joy required more effort, why rest didn't restore you the way it used to. That weight did not come from disobedience. It came from disconnection, from a small separation between what you felt and what you allowed yourself to act on. And listen carefully. The circumstances around that moment mattered. There were voices influencing you, expectations pressing on you, responsibilities demanding immediate response. You were not operating in ideal conditions. You were responding to urgency, not clarity. So release the self-judgment you've been carrying quietly. It does not belong to you anymore. Your spirit has been tired not because you are weak, but because it has been compensated, carrying the tension between what is true for you and what felt required of you. That tension builds slowly. It doesn't break you, but it bends your sense of direction. And over time, bending begins to feel normal. You may have told yourself, "I'll fix this later," or "this is just a season," or "it doesn't really matter." Those thoughts were not denial, they were protection. You were preserving energy when you didn't have extra to spend. You were buying time, not abandoning truth. That is why the disruption stayed hidden. It wasn't ready to be addressed until you were ready to face it, without collapsing under guilt or regret. And now, something in you has stabilized. You're stronger than you realize. You're more grounded than before. That's why this message can reach you now, without overwhelming you. You don't need to replay the past. You don't need to name the moment out loud. Your spirit already recognizes it. And recognition is enough to begin release. Stay gentle with yourself, as this understanding settles. There is no rush to resolve anything yet. What matters is that you allow yourself to acknowledge the weight you've been carrying without shame, because once something is acknowledged, it loses its power to quietly steer you. And what comes next will not demand force, only honesty. Remain here. What is being uncovered is preparing the way for something lighter. My child, my beloved, when alignment shifts even gently, the effects do not always appear as loss. More often, they appear as delay, not denial, not rejection, but a stretching of time that feels confusing when you are doing your best to move forward. This is why certain breakthroughs felt close yet unfinished, why peace arrived in moments but refused to stay, why patterns repeated with different faces, different settings, yet the same emotional weight followed you. These were not punishments. They were pauses placed with care. What you experienced as stagnation was actually containment. What felt like being held back was protection from stepping into something before your spirit was fully positioned to receive it without cost. If everything had moved when you wanted it to, you would have entered spaces that demanded a version of you that was not yet whole. So, momentum slowed, not to frustrate you, but to preserve what mattered most. This is why some doors closed quietly instead of dramatically, why opportunities faded instead of collapsing, why certain connections drifted rather than breaking. You were being spared from damage you couldn't see while still being prepared for what you could. And yet, even protection has a season. Delays are merciful only while they serve alignment. When alignment is ready to be restored, delay begins to feel heavy. That's the weight you've been noticing. Lately the sense that waiting has run its course. The feeling that staying still now costs more than moving forward with awareness. You may have blamed yourself for not doing enough, for not trying harder, for not being more disciplined or more faithful, but effort was never the missing piece. Alignment was. And alignment cannot be forced, it must be invited. This is why cycles repeated. Not to trap you, but to reveal where adjustment was needed. Each repetition carried a quieter message than the last, asking you to notice what no longer fit. Each return point was an opportunity to listen more closely. And now, the message has become clear enough to reach you directly. Urgency is rising not because something bad will happen if you don't respond, but because something good is waiting, and it requires your participation. There is a window opening, not to test you, but to restore flow. Flow cannot resume while misalignment remains unattended, even if it once served a purpose. Pay attention to where your spirit tightens. Notice what drains you instead of nourishing you. Observe what requires constant justification rather than bringing quiet peace. These are not condemnations. They are signals guiding you back to yourself. You are not behind. You are not late. You are arriving at awareness at exactly the right moment. And awareness is the doorway through which everything else follows. Stay present as this settles. You don't need to act yet. You only need to remain attentive, because something has been watching over this process, patiently, precisely, and it is preparing to step closer now that you are ready to respond. And when that presence draws near, you will feel it not as pressure, but as support. My beloved, you have never been as alone as you sometimes believed. Even in the moments when silence surrounded you, when answers did not arrive on time, when your strength felt borrowed rather than renewed, there was observation without intrusion, presence without pressure, not to control you, but to guard what was unfolding within you. There's a realm beyond what your eyes can confirm, and it has been attentive to your journey, not distant, not indifferent, watchful in a way that honors your freedom. Every season you passed through was noted not as a record of mistakes, but as a testament of endurance. Nothing you carried quietly went unseen. The tears you swallowed, the prayers you whispered only once because repeating them felt too heavy, the moments when you asked for clarity and received only enough strength to keep going, those were heard. They were not ignored simply because the answers came slowly. Timing was being shaped around you, not against you. You may have felt at times as though your life was on pause while others moved ahead. But pauses are not emptiness. They are spaces where unseen hands adjust what must align before momentum returns. And during those pauses, intercessions surrounded you, not to override your choices but to soften the terrain you were walking through. Support does not always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up as restraint, as protection that feels like delay, as redirection that looks like inconvenience. You were spared from paths that would have drained you in ways you were not meant to endure. That was not luck. That was care. Yet hear this gently. Observation does not replace response. Support does not override choice. Help is available, but it is not imposed. It waits for willingness, for awareness, for consent. And that is why this moment matters so deeply. You are being observed now, not with scrutiny but with anticipation. There is an attentiveness surrounding you that recognizes readiness, not perfection. Readiness. The readiness to listen without defending, to notice without resisting, to allow correction without shame. You may feel it as a quiet pressure in your chest, or a sense of being held without being restricted. That is not imagination. That is alignment drawing near. The watchful presence that once stood at a distance is closer now, not to rush you, but to walk with you through what comes next. But closeness requires cooperation, not effort openness. The kind of openness that says, I am willing to see what I could not see before. The kind that allows truth to surface without immediately labeling it as threat or failure. Remain connected to this moment. Let your awareness widen rather than narrow. You don't need to search the future or dissect the past. All that is required now is presence, because presence signals readiness in ways words never could. Something is about to shift from observation to interaction, from waiting to movement, and when that shift happens, you will recognize it not by noise, but by clarity. Stay here. What has been watching is about to respond. My child, my beloved, this is the moment where stillness turns into direction, not with force, not with urgency that overwhelms, but with a quiet, unmistakable sense that something is being adjusted. What you are standing in now is not an ending, it is a reroute, a gentle correction that changes where the road leads without erasing how far you've already come. Rerouting does not mean you failed. It means you learned enough to travel differently. There is a turning point approaching you, not dramatic, not public, but deeply personal. It will not demand that you explain yourself to anyone. It will ask only that you be honest with yourself. This moment arrives with choice, not command. You are not being pushed, you are being invited. You may feel resistance at first, not because the direction is wrong, but because familiarity is comfortable, even when it's heavy. Let that resistance speak without letting it lead. It is only trying to keep you safe using old information. You have new awareness now, and with it comes permission to choose again. This reroute requires consent. Not perfection, not certainty, willingness. The willingness to say, quietly within yourself, I am open to being guided differently. That sentence alone carries power because it releases control without surrendering dignity. Pay attention in the coming moments. Something will surface. It may be a conversation you didn't plan to have, a name that keeps returning to your thoughts, a realization that arrives unexpectedly while your mind is elsewhere. A sign so subtle, it could be dismissed if you're rushing. These are not interruptions, they are coordinates. You are not being asked to act impulsively. You are being asked to notice. Notice what brings relief instead of tension. Notice what feels lighter, even if it's unfamiliar. Notice what aligns with peace rather than urgency. These sensations are guidance speaking through your body because your mind has been carrying too much. This reroute will not erase your past efforts. Everything you've walked through remains valuable. It taught you discernment. It sharpened your sensitivity. It prepared you to recognize this moment without fear. You are not starting over, you are continuing with clarity. There may be a brief discomfort as the direction shifts, not pain adjustment. Like stepping onto a moving path after standing still too long. Allow yourself to feel it without labeling it as wrong. Adjustment is a sign of movement returning. Do not rush to explain this shift to others. Not everyone needs to understand your reroute. Some paths are corrected quietly, because they are sacred. What matters is that you honor what you are sensing rather than dismissing it out of habit. Stay receptive. Keep your inner posture soft. Let your grip loosen just enough for guidance to pass through. Because once this reroute completes its first turn, something that has been hidden will begin to come into view. And when it does, you will recognize it not as surprise but as confirmation. My beloved, now you are approaching a space where the unseen becomes visible, where whispers become words, where shadows lift just enough for truth to emerge. This is the revelation phase, the moment when what has been quiet, hidden, or only partial understood begins to surface, asking you to witness it with honesty and attention. Revelation does not always arrive as clarity at first. Often it comes as a subtle recognition, a shift in feeling, a name or image that appears unbidden in your mind. You may notice patterns you never consciously recorded. You may see relationships, opportunities, or choices from a fresh perspective, as if a veil had been lifted just enough to glimpse what was already there, waiting patiently for you to notice. Your emotional response will be varied, my child. Some parts of you will feel relief, as though a weight you didn't fully know you carried has eased. Other parts may ache, because seeing clearly also illuminates what has been neglected, avoided, or misunderstood. Let yourself feel it all. You do not need to label it as good or bad. Let it be observed. Let it be received. This is not judgment, it is awareness stepping forward. You may feel a sudden rush of understanding about choices you made, words you didn't speak, or actions you withheld. Perhaps you see where hesitation cost you a small fragment of what could have been. Perhaps you feel the sting of realization that some moments could have been embraced differently. Do not tighten around these feelings. Do not resist the clarity. Let them wash over you like a tide that brings shells to the shore. You will not keep every shell, but every shell tells you something important. This revelation is not here to punish or shame. It is here to align. It is the moment where your spirit is given the gift of seeing without distraction, without distortion, without excuses. You are being invited to observe with a heart that is tender, yet anchored in the knowledge that this seeing will guide you forward, not backward. Notice what surfaces without rushing to react. Not everything is meant for immediate action. Some truths are meant for reflection. Some insights will bloom only when the timing is perfect. Others require a gentle acknowledgement. I see this. I receive this. I will allow it to guide me. Observation without reaction strengthens your discernment. It trains your spirit to recognize signals without being swept away by emotion or impulse. There may be surprises. Perhaps something you thought lost has been quietly returning. Perhaps someone's intention previously misunderstood will finally make sense. Perhaps the answers to questions you barely dared ask will appear through subtle signs, conversations, or internal knowing. Let yourself witness it all without needing to control the outcome. Control is not required here, presence is. Your heart may feel a mixture of relief and tension. That is natural. Relief because alignment is being revealed. Tension because revelation asks you to face what has been partially hidden, yet it does so without condemnation. This is the threshold, my beloved, where understanding meets preparation, where the light is sufficient to guide, yet gentle enough to allow you to choose. Remain in this space, quietly receptive. Allow the unveiling to continue at its own pace. Do not interrupt it with old patterns of doubt or defensiveness. The revelations appearing now are sacred. They carry the seeds of clarity that will guide your next steps. And when you observe fully, without rush, without judgment, you will be ready to enter the next phase, a phase of restoration and realignment, where what was lost, paused, or misaligned begins to return, but in a form that honors your growth and readiness. The shift is near. Watch closely, my child. Something long awaited is stepping into you, my beloved. Now you are approaching the space of restoration, a sacred window that opens only when readiness meets recognition. This is not a return to what once caused you pain, confusion, or limitation. This is a return to alignment, a reclamation of your peace, provision, and purpose in a way that honors your growth. What has been paused, delayed, or unsettled is being offered back to you, but in a form that reflects the lessons your spirit has carried through the waiting. Restoration does not arrive with noise or fanfare. It arrives quietly, subtly, yet unmistakably. You may notice relief in your chest, a sense of direction in your mind, or an unexpected lightness in your heart. These are signs that what has been guarded is now accessible. What was delayed is now available. What was misaligned is now being returned to its proper place. Do not mistake restoration for repetition. It does not mean stepping back into old patterns or relationships that once hurt you. It means stepping forward with clarity, with wisdom, with the discernment earned through your journey. You will not return to the same version of your life, because you are not the same person who once walked it. You are stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the rhythms of your spirit. Pay attention, my beloved. This window is present now, but windows do not stay open indefinitely. Hesitation, even gentle hesitation, can delay the manifestation of what is ready to flow into your life. Not out of punishment, but because alignment requires participation. Your willingness, your recognition, your decision to step forward of these act as a signal that you are prepared to receive fully. You may feel a gentle nudging, an inner knowing that certain doors are reopening, that opportunity are reappearing, that people or situations are aligning in ways you did not expect. Let yourself respond not with overthinking or fear, but with acceptance and awareness. Restoration favors presence, not perfection. It favors observation and trust over insistence and control. Notice how your spirit reacts to these shifts. There may be moments of disbelief, or hesitation rooted in old fears, or wonder that feels almost surreal. Let them all be present. These reactions are natural because restoration carries energy. Energy that heals, aligns, and rearranges the space around you. This energy asks for attention without forcing movement. It asks for trust without demanding proof. The restoration you are being offered is multi-layered. It includes peace where chaos lingered, clarity where confusion persisted, and provision where lack once weighed on you. It is not limited to material or external circumstances. It touches your sense of identity, your sense of purpose, and your inner alignment. Every layer returned is a reminder that what is meant for you cannot be permanently withheld. Remain receptive, my beloved. Allow your heart to recognize that restoration is already beginning, even if the full manifestation is not yet visible. Sense the currents moving, the doors aligning, the unseen support surrounding every step. Presence and attention are your keys to fully receiving what is being returned. This is a sacred invitation. Do not doubt your readiness. Do not question the timing. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what has been waiting for you. Step softly, but step consciously. Step fully, but step with awareness, because your willingness now will determine how effortlessly the restoration manifests and how fully your life is realigned. And as you move toward this return, know this, my beloved, what was once hidden, delayed, or misaligned is being restored, not to repeat the past, but to honor the growth you have achieved, the lessons you have carried, and the readiness you have cultivated. This is your window. It is open now. Will you step forward? The choice is yours, and it carries power beyond comprehension. My beloved, this is the moment that gathers all the threads of what has come before, the moment where awareness, readiness, and alignment converge. This is not a rehearsal. This is not a whisper that can be ignored without consequence. This is your decisive moment, the one that asks for your presence, your choice, your willingness to receive fully what has been prepared for you. Do not mistake the stillness of this moment for emptiness. Do not tell yourself, I will wait, I will decide later. The opportunity before you is alive, moving with precision, and call your attention in a way that only those attuned can recognize. What has been delayed, what has been paused, what has been quietly guarded is now at your doorstep. And though the timing is gentle, it is precise. You may carry the weight of past decisions, moments you wish could be redone, paths you wondered about, or chances you felt slipped through your fingers. Hear me clearly, None of that defines you. None of those pauses or hesitations diminish the worth of your spirit or the readiness of your heart. You are not flawed for what you did not see or could not act upon. You are human, and now you are ready. This final call is not a demand. It is an invitation steeped in quiet urgency. It asks you to look at your life, to breathe fully into this moment, and to recognize that the mistake you feared or the hesitation you carried no longer has power over what is about to unfold. You have been observed, guided, and protected through the unseen currents that shaped your journey. And now, response, not perfection, is the measure of readiness. Pay attention, my beloved. Feel the stirrings in your chest, the subtle nudges in your thought, the gentle but persistent awareness that something is waiting. It may not arrive as a grand sign or a loud announcement. It may come as clarity in a conversation, as a shift in circumstance, as an unexpected opening where once there was none. The forms are many, but the essence is singular. Alignment has returned. Opportunity is present. Your moment is now. You may hesitate. Old fears may rise. Old doubts may whisper that you are not ready, that you cannot receive fully, that it is safer to wait. These whispers are echoes of previous patterns, familiar but not binding. Listen, but do not obey them. This is the moment when your spirit must speak louder than hesitation. Your yes now carries the energy to activate blessings, to restore peace, to reclaim what was promised to your life in unseen ways. Remember, my child, your past choices do not define you. The mistakes you carried, the pauses you endured, the delays you felt, these were all temporary preparatory steps. What matters is what you do with this present, what you allow yourself to receive, what you choose to step into without fear, without resistance, without unnecessary delay. This is your call to courage, to openness, to trust in the movement that has already been orchestrated around you. And with that call comes responsibility, not to control but to participate, not to question but to witness, not to force but to accept. Response is the key that unlocks the full measure of what has been waiting for you. Do not look for grand confirmation. Do not wait for the world to align first. Look inward. Feel the readiness in your chest, the stirring in your spirit, the quiet insistence that you have arrived exactly where you are meant to be. Step into it fully. Step into it consciously. Step into it now. This is your moment of choice, my beloved. Say yes. Open your hands. Open your heart. Receive what has been marked for you. And as you do, know that everything you have carried, the waiting, the hesitation, the unseen guidance, has led you to this very second. The path forward is illuminated. The blessing is ready. The alignment is complete, but it requires your presence. Do not delay. Do not doubt. Do not let the opportunity pass quietly. Stand in your readiness. Choose fully. And feel, deep within, the quiet power of what is being offered, because it is not simply a return, it is a renewal. It is your life, reclaimed and realigned, waiting for you to step into it without hesitation, with courage, and with the unwavering recognition that this is your time. My beloved, now comes the moment of activation, the point where awareness becomes movement and readiness becomes tangible in your life. You have witnessed the pause, the hidden disruptions, the cycles that slowed your progress, and the restoration that returned what was yours. Now, all of that is converging into a current of energy that waits for your full consent. Activation does not force you forward, it asks you to step deliberately, consciously, and with intention. Do you feel it in your chest, that quiet pulse of expectancy, that soft insistence urging your spirit to lean in rather than away? That is the signal that the unseen is responding to your readiness. Nothing else needs to change. You do not need more proof, more permission, or more clarity than you already possess. The key is present attention and willingness. These are the catalysts that awaken what has been quietly prepared for you. This moment may come as subtle signs, an opportunity opening unexpectedly, a conversation that illuminates what was unclear, or an intuition that refuses to be ignored. It may also arrive as a deep internal knowing, a sudden alignment of thought, emotions, and intentions that makes the next step unavoidable. Do not dismiss these moments as coincidence. They're your markers, your coordinates, your invitations to step fully into what has been waiting. You may feel fear or hesitation. That is natural. Activation often asks us to move toward what is unknown, to trust in the unseen, to step beyond the patterns that kept us small or cautious. But my beloved, hesitation at this point is optional. The flow will wait, but it will not wait indefinitely. Activation requires your participation. It is not coercion, it is an opportunity. And every opportunity requires a response. Remember, the past does not define your capacity to move forward. Your previous hesitations, delays, and missteps are already accounted for, already folded into the current of readiness. What matters now is your choice. Every step you take, in alignment, magnifies the possibilities that have been awaiting your movement. Every acknowledgement of readiness, no matter how small, sends ripples through your life, reconfiguring what has been paused, stalled, or hidden. Do not rush, do not force, observe, receive, and step consciously. Feel the currents moving through your energy, recognize the shifts, and give yourself permission to act in harmony with what your spirit already knows. This is not a test of courage, it is a test of presence. Presence in your life, presence in your decisions, presence in the unfolding of your path. And as you step forward, something long awaited will begin to manifest. Doors you could not see before will open. Opportunities aligned to your purpose will surface. Insights and clarity that once seemed distant will arrive with ease. The activation does not recreate your past, it transforms your path forward into a space where your readiness and your destiny meet in harmony. Do not look for fanfare. Do not seek validation from the world. Activation is internal first, spiritual always. It is the alignment of your heart, your mind, and your spirit with the flow that has been patiently waiting for this moment. Recognize it, respond to it, and allow yourself to move forward with the quiet authority of one who's been prepared from the beginning. This is the time, my child. This is your activation. Will you step fully into it, receiving what has been orchestrated for your life, or will you linger at the threshold, uncertain? The choice is yours, and the impact of your response will ripple far beyond what you can yet see.